I'm Andrew Price.
And I'm Mike Bedard.
Welcome to Deep Cuts, the podcast where we pick a topic and walk you through the ins, the outs, and the nitty-gritty so you can appear like an interesting and idiosyncratic person at your next forced social function. Today's topic is...
J. Fred Muggs, the Today Show chimp.
Who is J. Fred Muggs? He was the chimp co-host of the Today Show who helped save the show from an early cancellation, much to the dismay of his co-host, who went to ridiculous lengths to get Muggs kicked off the show, including putting drugs in his drinks. Act 1. Too much monkey business. The Today Show is a television institution. Even if you don't watch the show religiously, you undoubtedly see interview clips get posted to social media. The Today Show has helped launch the careers of numerous household names like Al Roker, Katie Couric, Barbara Walters, and Bryant Gumbel, and also... what's his name?
Matt Lauer?
Matt Lauer.
Yeah, I intentionally left that one off.
Notably didn't mention Matt Lauer. Legacy erased in real time.
Hey, listen, when someone gets canceled, I cancel them. They are dead.
It's like, hey, if you're going to put buttons on your desk that close doors, you ain't getting mentioned in a Deep Cuts episode. But then also you will, because I will stop and just talk about it anyway.
We're going to talk about how much of a bitch you are.
Not enough of a bitch to be on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but just enough of a bitch to get erased from history. from the Deep Cuts script canon.
Nah, Bryant Gumbel leaped over you now.
Oh, 100%.
Let that sink in, Matt Lauer.
From interviews with the world's most powerful figures to lightweight puff pieces, the Today Show is the way many folks choose to start their mornings. But it's entirely possible the Today Show and every show like it that followed, from CBS News mornings to Good Morning America, wouldn't have manifested at all if it wasn't for J. Fred Muggs, the chimp who saved the show. The Today Show aired on January 14th, 1952 as a new kind of TV program. At the time, it spanned 2 hours and offered everything from news stories to lifestyle pieces first thing in the morning, something that hadn't existed previously. But it wasn't all weather forecasts, as the show also marketed heavily towards children, with the comedy sketches and toy demonstrations part of the early offerings too. The goal was to get people away from radio morning programs and start using this newfangled technology called television. Wow, but what a thing, what a statement. That's crazy to think about. That like the Today Show, which like, you know, I'll ask you as well, but like I think as many people, you know, our age, my understanding or my experience with the Today Show was it was just that show that my parents watched in the morning or whatever time it came on, that had those people we were just talking about. Matt Lauer, Katie Couric, Katie Couric, Al Roker.
That was just Katie Couric by herself for a long time. They didn't get
weird.
Anyone else.
Yeah, it's crazy that she just carried that show by herself and there was nobody else on camera with her ever. And they did the Macy's Day Parade, and those I think probably out of any iteration of the Today Show, those people specifically were like the big celebrities that became like household names. Like I couldn't really name any other Today Show host except for those specific people in that range of the mid 90s to the early 2000s. And like, you know, Al Roker was the weather guy, and he was always putting on weird costumes, and that was his whole thing. And they did that Where in the World is Beep segment that my mom loved. And I don't know if other hosts since then have been famous and I'm just out of the loop and don't care anymore, but I'm vaguely aware of like the people who have hosted the Today Show in the years since, but I just don't think of them as like celebrities really in the same way. But that's my understanding of the Today Show, and it's crazy to think that this show is so old that when it started, they were trying to like pull like viewers away from radio shows.
Yeah, that's how old it is. Like people wanted to listen to the radio, and then television started taking off. People started getting TV sets, became more prevalent in people's homes, and they were like, well, we need to like get the morning market, which you would think would kind of be like an easy sell, but people were just like adamantly like, no, I just want to like listen to the radio. I don't want to like watch people do stuff, which I feel like is still kind of the case today. Like any time there's like a new thing, like Twitter takes off and people are like, oh, you just write a thing for like 100, I don't want to do that. But then it takes off from there. There's always that like little transition period. So I guess they did need to get people away from the radio.
Yeah, and also we went through like a similar cycle of that, like, because on one hand, it's like crazy to think about of like at one point people were trying to like convince people to watch TV instead of listen to the radio. But also when you think about it, like it makes sense. And you're like, okay, so, time when TV was not prevalent, it was a new thing. It's like, wait, so you want me to sit down in like a specific room and have to like stare at this little box and just watch the people talking? As opposed to being able to just walk around my house freely and just listen to the thing of this information that they're giving me. And we've gone through a similar cycle now with podcasts where everybody's started to try to turn podcasts into videos. And a lot of people, there's like been a backlash of like, why would I want to watch a podcast? Like, it's just listening to people talking. Why do I want to sit there and watch it? But then it's kind of started to shift where now people like video podcasts. So we pretty much did the exact same thing with podcasts recently.
Yeah, I mean, which I still don't understand. I mostly only listen to podcasts like while I'm driving. I work from home, so I can't listen to a podcast and write stuff. Otherwise, I just start writing what I'm hearing, and then it doesn't make any sense. I can't write and focus on what you're talking about. Otherwise, like 15 minutes will pass, and then I'm just like, I have no idea what they're talking about. I just lost the thread.
Yeah, I feel similarly. The benefit I see from like making a podcast a video is just that like while I'm going to listen to the podcast as an audio thing and I'm doing it while I'm working or driving or walking somewhere or whatever, and it just doesn't make sense to me to like have my phone out or have a screen out looking at them saying the stuff. I learn about podcasts from clips on social media where, I probably wouldn't stop and just watch like a static image with audio. But when it's a video version, it does grab you and you're like, oh, and you're watching it. And then you might check out the podcast. So I see the benefit of that.
That's how I view it, as like the videos are a marketing tactic. And then later, because if you're just scrolling on TikTok, you'll scroll for however long, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But a podcast can be like 4 hours. So you'll do that when you have the time.
Yeah. But so yeah, it's all on one hand you almost think like, oh, it's like that's so ridiculous that people didn't want to watch TV because they wanted to listen to the radio. But then actually when you think about it for 3 seconds, it's like, actually that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Why would you want to sit there and watch people just being like, today in the news? But it's also interesting to see like how the evolution of what these shows were, because you look at the format of a news show where you have, all these institutional tropes of it. You have news anchors and they sit at those same kind of desks and they have the upper thirds thing that's up here and they talk about the thing, and all these sort of canonized ways that news and talk shows are presented. And you just kind of think of them as what they are. But it's interesting to look back through the evolution of it and be like, oh, the way that they made these shows, the format of these shows in and of themselves were meant to like help people transition away from radio, where they were like, we're basically just giving you what a radio show is, but then there's this visual element. And so like, we're going to try to make it as much like a radio show as possible so that people aren't intimidated or, want to check it out. And then like that ripples out, and all of those traditions of what a news or talk show are continue to this day. And you can look at that lineage and be like, oh yeah, podcasts, like the format of them is dictated by radio shows in the 1920s, which is very fascinating to think about it like that. But what was your experience of today's show? Did you watch it when you were younger, or your parents watched it or whatever?
No, my parents didn't really watch it.
Oh, you fucking.
They probably.
My parents, they were much more sophisticated. They didn't watch these fucking news morning shows or whatever. They read the New York Times.
You're joking. No, I remember as a kid, they literally just watched like ABC News, like whatever the morning show would that be, but it would just be like strictly news. They didn't have time for the silliness of the Today Show, so I didn't really grow up watching it. Today, I see the clips like anyone else.
My parents wouldn't even speak to me unless I wrote a perfect New Yorker joke. I had to pitch them 5 New Yorker jokes in the morning, or else they wouldn't give me breakfast.
Michael, come down and draw us a political satire cartoon to get your pancakes.
You come down and you're like, look, Dad, see, there's like a guy in a suit and he's in a park and then a little girl is running by and he's looking down at her and he's saying, I guess what they said about the Ayatollah was correct. And your dad was like, here you go, son. Here's your pancakes.
My brother tried to draw a cartoon with an elephant and a donkey, and the elephant was labeled Republicans and the donkey was labeled Democrats, and my dad told him it was too on the nose and sent him back to his room to think about what he did.
Yeah, and your younger brother just kept accidentally drawing Family Circus.
He's like, get out of my house!
You're no son of mine!
With this cantankerous drivel!
I love that. It's funny because, like, in reality, your parents are just like very quiet and sort of like demure. Like, they're just like, I remember one time they came, I think for your younger brother's graduation, and they were in town, and so they were at our apartment. And they just kind of stood there, and we like they were over for like an hour, and they just kind of stood in the living room, not saying a word, just kind of quietly looking around. But I love the idea that they're like these hoity-toity, like super pretentious, like academic people.
Because then they watched the Today Show and it just blew their minds, and they were like, maybe we just have to reconsider everything, and they put their monocles down.
Yeah, and it turned them into like normal people.
Yeah.
No, I mean, well, here's the thing. I don't disagree. These shows, they just seem like a total waste of time to me. Like, it's like not really news. It's just people kind of sitting around, like, talking about like lifestyle and human interest things. And there is a news aspect to it, but it's just like it's folded into a 4-hour block of people just being like, and then we are gonna cook ourselves some cinnamon rolls or whatever. And it's just like, why do people watch this?
Yeah, I don't have the time to watch a whole 4-hour show. I'll watch like an interview if they interview like an actor I like. I don't know, but otherwise, like, I'm not watching 4 hours of this. Maybe that's the point. Like, there's something for everyone, but you just, like, if you just want to know how to cook something, you can watch the cooking segment. If you just want to know the weather, because, I mean, back in the day, I guess maybe you needed to know the weather more. There weren't as many sources to figure out the weather. But you could just tune in for that and then go about your day. Or I guess, because, I mean, as we'll get into, like, it started in the 50s, so, I mean, it was watched by a lot of women who were just homemakers. They were at home, so they could just have it on for its entire runtime, just in the background. And then if there was something you wanted that sparked your interest, you could sit down and watch whatever that was.
Yeah. And then every once in a while you got, where in the world is But it was slow going at first, as change often is. The Today Show suffered from low ratings throughout its first year, and the brass behind the scenes needed to switch things up. Enter Carmine Bud Manella and Leroy Waldron, former NBC pages. Carmine Bud Manella and Leroy Waldron.
Those weren't pages. Those were like those were fixers for...
Yeah, they were undercover wise guys. Like, hey, you want some coffee there? We could give you a little bit of a scone or something.
They were on the payroll as pages, but they were doing other stuff.
They walk into fucking Tom Brokaw's dressing room, and they're just like, Mr. Brokaw, people around here like you. It would be a shame if something were to happen to your little pencils at your desk. Oops, Butterfingers over here. Hope this doesn't happen to the rest of your stuff. And Tom Brokaw's like, okay, fine, here's the payoff money.
See, they needed Manella and Waldron when Matt Lauer was there, because they would have made sure there was no funny business going on. Mr. Lauer, we understand you have a button that closes the door and makes the female employees uncomfortable. You might want to get rid of that.
He's like, hey, let me sit at your desk, Mr. Lauer. He's like, oh, okay. And he sits down, and then he presses the button.
You can see how that might make someone uncomfortable when they press that button. And you're in a room with someone you don't want to be in a room with.
They're like gangsters, but they're also like really into like women's like autonomy and like consent.
Are you saying they're the woke mob?
Moving on. Nothing else can be said about that. It's not going to get any better than that. One day, the pair saw mugs in a pet store window. They found the monkey. Oh, look at that. Look at that little monkey in that cage.
You know how like in mob movies, there's like...
They wanted to free it because they're like... they're like, it'd be a shame if somebody, liberated these animals from this prison that they're in.
You know, like in mob movies, there's the one guy like... You know, I'm a guy who can procure certain objects, and you think it's drugs, but then he just shows up with a monkey. I thought you could, like, get stuff. Yeah, I got a monkey.
Well, you see, I was on the way to getting the drugs, but I saw all these animals in these cages at the pet store, and I was just like, that ain't right. That ain't right. So I freed all of them. But I took a liking to Muggs, so he's here now. He's my little special boy. One day, the pair saw Muggs in a pet store window, who had been given the name J. Fred Muggs in a naming competition. They purchased Muggs for $600, which would have been $7,000 in today's money. First of all, even $7,000, that's not a bad price for a monkey.
For a full monkey? Like,
I honestly, if you asked me how much a monkey would cost, I would be like 40 grand. Like,
well, with inflation, they probably are like 40 grand today, but like it was a steal. Like if you got in on the ground floor back in the 50s, like you get a monkey on cheap.
Yeah. But also, he was named J. Fred Muggs in a naming competition, which truly shows that it was a simpler time, because if there was a naming competition for a monkey, it would be called like Cum Daddy Fart Dragon or something like that.
It would be a tie between Monkey McMonkeyface and Hitler.
Yeah. He would be called Hitler, 100%.
Hitler
He would be
monkey.
called Hitler. Yeah, fuck what I said. He would be called Hitler.
God damn it, they posted a link to this naming competition on 4chan.
This monkey's name is Hitler now. No backsies, no takebacks. It's legally binding. You have to call him Hitler.
Yeah, did a competition.
The duo got Muggs work with some small gigs, including a spot on the Perry Como show, with NBC president Pat Weaver seeing potential in the ape. Manella set up an appointment for Muggs to audition for Today, but they wound up missing it. As fortuitous as it sounds, Manella and Muggs went to a nearby coffee shop where all the customers were amazed at Muggs dunking a donut in a mug of coffee. An NBC executive was among those in attendance and knew Muggs was exactly what the flailing morning show needed. Apparently, he went straight to the NBC president and proclaimed, "I want the chimp." Well, here's the thing. Is it a chimp or a monkey?
Well, it's a chimp.
So we've just been calling it a monkey this whole time, but it's
oh,
not a monkey.
So chimps are apes, yeah.
Yeah, we've been saying the wrong thing the whole time. He's not a monkey. He's a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
Which, is a pretty big difference, because monkeys are like these little dudes, and, they do have like strength that's like larger, more, higher proportionate to their size, but like, and they can be vicious. So like they can bite you, but like you can physically overpower a monkey. It might bite you and bite your fucking nose off or something like that, but you could physically overpower a monkey. A chimp, these things have the strength of like 10 men. I mean, we've all seen fucking Nope,
yeah,
which is probably loosely based on this. The idea of a monkey, being on a show or whatever, but like they can fucking murder you.
Yeah, I assume this is a young Muggs, so maybe he wasn't quite at full chimp strength yet. But yeah, I mean, eventually he's gonna get there.
Yeah, he's getting to full chimp strength.
You gotta, it's the child actor equivalent for chimps, where like you want him when he's like a cute little like baby chimp and he's like dunking a donut in coffee. But like once he gets older, you're like,
yeah,
those child actors who they like age kind of weird, or like they grew up in the industry, so they like did a bunch of drugs when they were 10, so they just kind of it ages them, and it's like that would be the case with a chimp. It's like, we want the baby chimp. Once he gets to be a teenager chimp, it's like, we don't have work for you.
The chimpanzee equivalent of Frankie Muniz going from being like a cute little kid to being like, that guy's kind of interesting looking. Is the point whenever the chimp gets old enough that they can put their hands on your head and crush your skull.
It's like, it's cute when there's like a baby chimp in a diaper and it's like hanging onto your head and you're like, oh, little baby chimp. And then it's like a man chimp and it's just like his hands, and it's like, I'm like fearing for my life right now.
Yeah. I mean, that thing that happens in Nope, like that's happened in real life.
Oh yeah.
Like people have had pet chimps or whatever, that like everything was fine for years or whatever, and then one day something happened and they just got up on the wrong side of the bed, they're wild animals and they have instincts, and then they just fucking massacred a room full of people. The prospect of a chimp on the Today Show may sound like a far-fetched idea, but in the early 50s, TV was still relatively new and something seen largely for children, hence why the Today Show reviewed toys. And once again, I'm gonna go, like I did in the last episode that we did together, I'm gonna go back to, there was an episode of Frasier that was like this, where at one point Frasier temporarily gets to fill in for an anchor on a Today Show-like show, called like Wake Up Seattle or something like that. It's like literally just the exact, it was a parody of the Today Show. And he's like really excited about doing it. And he's like, I'm going to bring my brand of psychology to the morning viewers of Seattle or whatever. But then when he goes on the show, they start having him do ridiculous segments, like weird cooking things or whatever. And at first he like doesn't want to do it. And he's like, I'm bigger than this. I'm more, I have more integrity than this. And then eventually he starts to like it because everybody loves it and he gets a lot of applause. And then there's a monkey or a chimpanzee that comes on the show and then becomes his like sidekick, and he hates the monkey. Like, it's literally just exactly this thing.
Yeah.
So there's an episode of Frasier for every episode we're gonna do.
Yeah. When you have like 11 or whatever seasons, you kind of you do everything.
When you have an episode, when you have a show with 11 seasons, eventually you start running out of ideas, and so you create a time machine and you go to the future and you find out that there's these things called podcasts, and then you discover this one podcast called Deep Cuts, and then you look at their list of episodes and you just start taking ideas from their episode guide.
Did we really need to invent a time machine for this? We could have just like found an encyclopedia or something and just kind of pulled from there.
And also, from the time that we invented the time machine, we could have just like gone back in time and like invested in Apple or something like that. Like,
why did we do that?
we still just went ahead with the whole finding ideas for this show thing.
And we only would have started the time machine after like season 8, when like a show's kind of losing steam. So we only had like the time we spent building the time machine. We should have just like honed in on the show so that it went past 11 seasons. Because by the time we had the time machine, the show just ended. Like, everyone was just like, we're done with this. There's 11 seasons, that's enough.
And then we didn't. And then another thing is, we didn't go back in time to before people got tired of the show and did the ideas then. We just did it later. Like, we fucked up. We did this wrong.
We're smart enough to invent a time machine, but not to have the follow through.
We're no Frasier Crane, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The idea was, if kids watch the Today Show, maybe they could get their parents to join in. Oh, that's another thing that's fascinating. That, like, you know, back in the 1950s, I've talked about this on other episodes or whatever, but back in something that like is culturally lost to us is, back in the 1950s, things like rock and roll music and, you know, records and TV were not for adults. They were for children. And adults saw themselves as like better than these things. Like, you know, they read newspapers and listen to the radio, and they listen to like classical music. Like, adults didn't partake in pop culture like this. So like, the idea that at a time in history, a TV show had to like try to like do this weird scheme where they like got children to like convince their parents to watch the show is like so culturally alien to us, because at this point, like, everything about pop culture is like primarily for adults, to the point where like even kids pop culture is ultimately for adults, and they create entire ecosystems of like conventions and like inside jokes in the show and merchandise that's all actually geared and targeted towards the adult watchers rather than the children watchers, because the adults can spend money.
Yeah, that's how we get live action Lilo and Stitch. It's like, this wasn't made for the kids. This was made for their adults to take their kids too, because the adults will enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I don't think they even enjoyed it.
Yeah. And then maybe not even that. Maybe just like that's the like veneer of it, but in reality it's like a bunch of people who don't even have kids who are going to see Lilo and Stitch. Like my wife went to this 75th anniversary screening of Cinderella that happened at Disney Studios, at Disneyland or Disney, I don't know, I forget where it was, but like my wife does not like Disney or doesn't like that stuff at all, but her friend does and had a ticket and invited her to go, and so it's funny because my wife just like really doesn't really like that kind of stuff, and she doesn't understand it. Like, she doesn't understand Disney adults, or like why like an adult would want to watch Disney movies or go to Disneyland or whatever. And so she went to this thing, and she's like, yeah, like we were, again, she took our daughter, and she was like, we were literally the only people there with a child.
Jesus Christ.
Everybody else was just adults by themselves. J. Fred Muggs first appeared on the Today Show on February 3rd, 1953, and was an instant hit. He leaped into the Today Show set and into his co-host David Garraway's arms, where he promptly took off his glasses and put them in his mouth. That's the reason why these are all fucked up.
You got a chimp?
No, basically, once they hit 2 years old, they just become little fucking chimpanzees. Yeah, they're just grabbing stuff, breaking stuff, sticking it in their mouths. Like, these glasses have been through the ringer. Like, this is super glued. It doesn't even fit on my face anymore. The lenses are just all scratched up, and I just haven't gotten a new pair. Like, this is what happens when you have a little chimp in your house.
I understand why he didn't like them.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want someone messing with your glasses.
Yeah, because
I wouldn't tolerate this behavior from a human. So like, why would it just be cute if a chimp's doing it?
That was that. A star was born, and Muggs was soon signed to a 13-week contract with the show, and it wouldn't take long for that to get extended. One of the show's first major advertisers was Dow Chemical, specifically for their new product Saran Wrap. Man, this episode is just it's just a treasure trove of like, holy shit, like this was a different time. Like, just our new product that we want everyone to try, Saran Wrap. That thing that like in 2025, like you just have it in your cabinet. You never bought it. It's just there.
From Dow Chemical. Dow Chemical. Don't look into us.
Dow Chemical. This saran wrap is not made of the same stuff that it is later on. Don't touch this. They thought advertising the product on a morning show right when wives were taking leftovers out of a fridge and could really use some saran wrap was the right move. And saran wrap quickly took off, convincing more and more advertisers to get in on the action. The Today Show may have been spared from cancellation, but Garoy wasn't too pleased that Muggs was getting so much attention, and he wasn't the only one. It's also crazy to think of these institutions as like at a time like could have been on the verge of being canceled. Because like some shows get canceled all the time, especially now, where like streaming services make like one season of something and then just like, what, you liked this? Well, it didn't fucking hit some kind of analytic number, so cancel. But like there's certain things like, the morning news or the Today Show or even something like Saturday Night Live where you're just like, yeah, this show can't get canceled. It's just like a thing. It's always there. But, Saturday Night Live at one point was at risk of being canceled after like the third season, I think. And yeah, it's just crazy to think about the fact that these shows, which are in a modern context, they're almost ubiquitous and just feel like a thing that's almost like state media in a way. It's like not literal state media, but it just doesn't feel like it could be canceled. Yeah. But like at one point they were just like, I don't know, you don't got enough monkeys on this show.
Lose the news. Add a monkey.
Yeah. It's cool. A morning news show. It's even cooler. A morning news show with a monkey, which is once again the third time that this quote has been referenced on an episode that you wrote.
That's just become a thing now. I've written other scripts between now and then, and there's just always going to be a Social Network reference in all of them.
It's like one of those like conspiracy things where it's like me like connecting yarn on a corkboard, and I'm like, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. And then the camera like racks back and it's just like a full thing and there's just like a million different episodes and they all have the same quote in them. And I'm just like, and then it cuts to you and you're just standing over my shoulder, like giving me like a maniacal smile. And you're just like, you figured it out. Ah! Cut to black.
The corkboard is...
what's cool? This knife.
The corkboard is a mosaic of Justin Timberlake's face.
Jim Fleming, the original newsreader on the show, quit in disgust over having to share airtime with a monkey, with Frank Blair being brought in to replace him. So, honest question. If you were a journalist or a news anchor on a show and they brought on a monkey, would you quit or would you stick it out?
I would stick it out. Even if I was like here's the thing. Even if I wanted to be a serious journalist, it's the Today Show. Even early on, they did toy reviews. Like they delivered news. I'm assuming it was like more serious than it is today, but it was still silly. Like they still wanted to market it to children and then by proxy, their parents. Like this isn't... In either way, like I would always like you put up the monkey now and then use that to launch your career into hard journalism later. Just get your name out there. I would stay put. And which actually reminds me, like when I was at UCLA, just a little bit of lore about me. My creative writing professor was James Franco. Pre-cancellation. We're just hitting all the canceled hits today.
How have we? I guess because it's just never come up. But how have we not talked about this? I totally. This used to be almost like what you were was like we just talked about
the James Franco guy.
We talked about James Franco all the time. Like that was like half of the things we talked about. But yeah, I can't believe this hasn't come up yet. I mean, you've been on 3 episodes so far.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, your teacher in college was James Franco.
And very first week of class, there were only like 15 of us in the class, and we each brought in a short story, like a 2-page short story we would read, and then he would give us notes, like any creative writing class goes. And there was a guy who read his short story and James Franco gave him whatever notes. And he took it super personally and was just like, well, the reason I wrote it this way was because of this. And Franco was like, yeah, but just in the future, like you might want to consider this when writing. And just a 10-minute argument back and forth. And then I had to read my short story after that, so I was kind of pissed. But I go to class the next week, and that guy is gone. And then James Franco like goes to the front of the classroom, and it's just like, yeah, so-and-so won't be joining us anymore. I guess he didn't like my teaching style. And I'm like, what a fucking idiot. Like, I mean, again, this was pre-cancellation.
In retrospect, he was on the right side.
He was on the right side. But at the time, I was like... Even if he was a dick, like you didn't like his teaching style, I would just like wait it out because it's a class with James Franco. Like, no matter what, like, this is gonna be a good story later. You can tell people, like, you have anecdotes for life. Just like wait it out. So I would just like, yeah, I would put up with. I mean, I would put up with a monkey. I did put up a monkey with James Franco. I mean, that guy turned out to be.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going.
He's a bit of a primate if you know what I mean. I mean, yeah. In retrospect, that guy was in the right.
That guy was woke as fuck.
And it's funny because that's actually not true. Like, that guy obviously just has like a fragile ego and just doesn't like any kind of constructive feedback, which is like such a bad attitude to have as a creative person. Like, you have to like be open to like listening to feedback.
You want to be a writer,
but I guarantee you that in the canon of that guy's life, when that stuff came out, he reframed it of like, I knew there was something. I always knew there was something off about
100%.
him. That's why I quit his class. But it's like, no, you didn't. You just don't like people telling you, that your writing isn't perfect or whatever. You didn't know that. You didn't fucking know that.
You were a 21-year-old writing a short story about a day you had with your dad. Your shit sucked back then, which it should have. But like, that's how you get better.
Yeah, which is also odd, just that you would take a class and then get mad that the teacher was teaching. Like, what did you think this was? What did you think this class was gonna be? Like, just you reading a story and James Franco like,
oh, brava. No notes. See you next week. Can't wait to read the next classic.
It's like, okay, that sounds like one of those like baseball camps where, like, people pay money to go to some camp and then there's like a retired famous baseball player there, and they just like teach them how to swing, but it's all just kind of like you're just paying $10,000 to like meet a baseball player, basically. Yeah. But Garroway was stuck with the monkey and tried to keep things diplomatic in the press, at one point saying,
"Since he came on the show, our rating has gone up 2 points. If he can help us that way, sure, I want to keep him." All
right, and here we go. Here we got him. This is the first time we're stopping and actually getting to see Dave Garroway and J. Fred Muggs,
the Mugster.
Which, if I had seen this picture early on, I would have known way sooner that we were not talking about a monkey. But yeah, what do we got here, Mike?
Dave Garroway looks like Drew Carey on Ozempic.
Yeah, that's the best one that's ever happened. It's so true. Which honestly, like, Drew Carey looks like Drew Carey on Ozempic now.
Yeah, oh no, yeah, he's lost a bunch of weight, but like, this is the prototype Drew Carey on Ozempic.
And J. Fred Muggs looks like a chimpanzee. He looks like Bubbles the monkey in the 1960s.
He just looks like a chimp. He has like a little outfit. He has suspenders on in this photo.
He's adorable. He's adorable.
Yeah, he has shoes on.
Got little shoes on, little sneakers, little chimp sneakers.
Honestly, who was the guy who quit? Like, I don't know. Like, fuck him. Like, this is an adorable little chimp.
Jim Fleming.
Yeah, fuck was that guy's deal?
Yeah, I don't know. He looks like J. Fred Muggs looks like a modern day Silver Lake hipster, or I guess less so a modern day, more like a 2010 Silver Lake hipster. Now all the 2010 Silver Lake hipsters are 40-year-old Eagle Rock hipsters. Dave Galloway, he's just like the Drew Carey on Ozempic comparison is pretty apt. He's just like he's a dude with glasses. He's blonde. He's wearing a suit with a bow tie. He's got that vibe.
He does look like he's giving off the serious journalist vibes, which is like, this duo could have worked so well if he wasn't like gonna be kind of a prick about it. Like, you have the very serious journalist. He's the straight man to J. Fred Muggs's silly little chimp antics. I mean, that I understand the vision here with bringing a chimp on the show with that guy.
Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Muggs had hundreds of different outfits, learned over 500 words, and frequently sat in Garroway's lap. His antics were just plain delightful. We're going to watch this clip.
Want to take a little walk with me? Let's go up and tell Jack that you've got a new desk.
Oh.
That's a good one. Come on.
Remember this.
Jack, I know you'll be interested in this.
Yeah, so they're on the show, and they've just got this little chimp guy, and he's just walking around with them.
Yes, indeed.
I can understand how frustrating this would be, though. Like, you just...
You got your own desk, now go away.
Yeah, so they try to coax J. Fred Muggs to walk over to the other side of the studio, and this is like during the show. And as he's walking by, I don't know who this guy is. Maybe this is what's his name?
Fleming, or
I
don't know if this
the guy who replaced him, Frank Blair. I think this might be Frank Blair, but he's sitting at a little news desk where his pieces are shot or whatever. when it cuts to him, and he just like grabs his desk and just like pulls it, and then the guy has to like grab his desk and be like, stop, and then he's like, you got your own desk or whatever. But like all the stuff we were saying before about like, oh, it's just like a monkey or whatever, like I get why this would be super frustrating, because you're just like, you're a news anchor, you're like a journalist, and you have to like babysit a chimpanzee, like basically like a super strong baby. Like, and you have to like that would be fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
to be like, I'm just trying to do my job and I've got to like deal with this fucking chimpanzee all the time.
Okay, we have breaking news from Vietnam. No, come over here. Come over here, Fred. Come on, let's go. Let's walk over here. So God damn it. I gotta come
Yeah,
here. Just stay put, Fred. Stay put.
You only have to see this clip to just, it clicks and you're just like, oh yeah, this would suck.
Well, that noble experiment. That's why we kept telling him down to the office.
He won't let go of the desk.
It's been divided lately into two factions.
They've got him on a little leash.
In the morning. One faction says
A little like wire leash that's attached to his pants.
Longer. And the other faction says, no, it's not that. There's a mysterious psychic influence that Jack's desk has on him.
He seems so frustrated. The guy who's like pulling his desk, like he's not like, oh, Jay. He's like, he looks like he's like really trying to compose himself. Like he's like, this is a fucking nightmare.
That is the hoity-toity guy we were saying my parents were, just like, oh, well, I never saw a chimpanzee act such a way.
Yeah, like this dude is not happy about this.
Desk has on him. No matter what you do, he'll always attack Jack's desk. Well, the psychic boys are in the seats very firmly this morning.
One of these days, I'm going to fight fire with fire, you know.
Yeah, these people are all just so pissed off. They're just like, this fucking sucks. I went to fucking journalism school. I fought my way through the mail room, and I'm just sitting here with this fucking chimp just like attacking me.
It would be a different story if they brought a chimp onto the Today Show today, because I imagine all those people are just like, yeah, it's the Today Show. We get a little silly with it. And if they brought in a chimp, they'd be like, oh, look at J. Fred Muggs. He's pulling on a desk.
Today Show producer Richard Pinkham once claimed that by saving the show, Muggs helped generate $100 million in value for NBC over the years. Viewership skyrocketed and Muggs became the face of the Today Show, much to the chagrin of the aforementioned Dave Garroway. According to various reports, Garroway hated his new co-star behind the scenes and went to great lengths to sabotage the chimp. All right, we're getting into the sabotage. We're getting into the real shit now.
Sabotage!
Oh my god, it's a chimpanzee! I'm telling y'all, it's sabotage! One story claims that Garroway's jealousy caused him to spike Muggs' orange juice with benzodrine to get him to misbehave while live so that he'd be taken off stage and Garroway could continue being the face of the show. One quote claims,
he had to live with the issue that it took a quote-unquote monkey to save his show. And that bothered him very much throughout television history. And in a way, I don't blame him. But Muggs was an animal that saved a TV show that is still in existence today. If it wasn't for J. Fred Muggs, that show would not be on there.
Listen, this monkey made $100 million for us. You shut your fucking mouth. You're the monkey. How much money has Dave Garroway made for NBC? $40,000? Fuck you.
That chimp might be a monkey, but you, Dave Garroway, are a monster.
One of Garroway's more infamous schemes to get Muggs off the show involved an on-air bit where he offered Muggs a banana and an actual NBC contract to continue co-hosting the show for another year. To his dismay, Muggs grabbed the pen and signed an X on the contract, keeping him around to annoy Garroway a little while longer. Which is so funny because, number one, it's so funny that the monkey was like, fuck you, you're not gonna trick me. I'm
getting paid.
I can get a banana backstage. Fuck this shit. I'm getting my money. But also, it's so funny because it's like, do you think they really would have like honored that? Like if the producers of the show and NBC, if he really did choose a banana, you think they'd be like, well, he chose the banana. No, they'd be like, no, he's gonna be on the show. Fuck you. Sign the contract, bitch.
This chimp's making us money. He can have all the bananas he wants. In fact, the craft services table is nothing but bananas now. You just screwed yourself even further, Dave. You can't get a bag of chips anymore. It's just
all bananas. There was no stopping Muggs' mania. He would dedicate supermarkets and commission Navy ships. He went on a world tour to promote the Today Show, including a stop in Japan where he was waited on by 15 geishas. It's even been said that at the time, the only American more popular than Muggs in Japan was Marilyn Monroe. But not every country was as charmed by Muggs' monkey business. A quote from a Russian newspaper at the time had this to say:
Muggs is necessary in order that the average American should not look into report taxes and decreasing pay, but rather laugh at the funny mug of a chimpanzee.
Whoa, that's some real shit. Muggs was the opium of the masses. They were distracting us from the harsh realities of our growing dystopian society.
You know, if they didn't have Muggs, maybe we would be in a better place right now.
Yeah.
People would have no choice but to listen to the news without a chimp around.
Yeah, J. Fred Muggs created the template for bubblegum dystopia, where we're distracted by just, increasing wealth disparity and, decreasing wages and poorer work and life conditions and overall poor quality of life, and, the dissolution of the middle class by these the Masked Singer and all these bubbly, mindless entertainment. J. Fred Muggs was ground zero for that.
People say that the world started going to shit when Harambe was killed in 2016, but there's a timeline of monkeys where
it's always a monkey.
There's a monkey and there's
it's always an ape.
It's always an ape, I guess, yeah, because Harambe was gorilla. But there's always a fork in the road, and there's an insidious ape leading us down the wrong path, and we always go down that path.
We always go down the path of the ape because they're so adorable.
We just listen. I'm just saying. Next, I don't know if it's gonna be this year, next year, 10 years down the road. An ape is going to permeate pop culture, and we need to go the other way. That's gonna be the final ape.
Yeah, it's so true too. It's so true because back in 2016. Something like that. I was working at a company that I basically helped start. And, we were like a pretty modest company. And then one day I saw a company called Super Deluxe, and they were doing a live stream on Facebook, and they were doing a funeral for Harambe in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. And I was like, this is a really weird and cool idea. I want to work at this company. And I went and I left the company I was working for and started working at Super Deluxe, and it just fundamentally changed the trajectory of my life. I wouldn't be doing this show if I hadn't done that.
So if Harambe hadn't been killed, you'd be at that other company, or at least wouldn't have gone to Super Deluxe.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this show I wouldn't be doing the show right now. So it's totally true. In 1953, during the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, which is traditionally a solemn ceremony, the Today Show cut away from the procedures to air an advertisement for tea starring its lovable mascot, Muggs. The Brits didn't appreciate this very much, as they saw it as a mockery of their customs. Muggs's commercial legitimately played a big role in England's Television Act of 1954, which prevented TV channels from cutting away to commercial breaks during anything that involved the royal family. It's
the apes are changing the world. We literally live in the planet of the apes. They're the ones dictating everything.
The dawn of the planet of the monkeys.
The dawn. Must resist monkey business.
Man, I didn't know how much of our world was shaped by monkeys.
I mean, we were shaped by monkeys.
Yeah.
I mean, millennia ago, but yeah.
Hey, I ain't no monkey. Of course, none of this was enough for Today to get rid of Muggs, at least for the time being. He even got a girlfriend, Phoebe B. Beebe. They nailed it with that name. J. Fred Muggs, it's a cute name, I guess, but I don't know. It's not that great of a name.
It's fine.
J. Fred Muggs kind of sounds like an accountant or something like that, like the owner of a fucking tax agency. But Phoebe B. Beebe, that's the best name.
That's a good chimp name. That's a chimp. Someone says J. Fred Muggs, you don't know who they're talking about. It could be someone's cousin or tax guy. Phoebe B. Beebe, that's a chimp.
It's just fun to say.
Yeah, I love saying that.
Phoebe B. Beebe. It rolls off the tongue, but it doesn't even roll off the tongue because it doesn't use the tongue.
No, just
it sits on the lips. It's like saying banana. It's just a fun word to say. Just
at the front of your mouth, Phoebe B. Beebe. As opposed to J. Fred, that's at the
J. Fred Muggs. So sit in the back of your throat, giving you a sore throat to say.
Mucusy, yeah.
But Phoebe B. Beebe.
I think that's what the Minions say. In every Minions movie.
They just say Phoebe B. Beebe.
Phoebe B. Beebe. Banana. Phoebe B. Beebe.
Oh my God. Chimpanzees are responsible for the Despicable Me franchise? For a monkey that wore little suits and suspenders, J. Fred Muggs made a lot of enemies during his tenure on the Today Show. And while hearing about his co-host trying to sabotage is kind of funny, there may have been some good reasons not to have a live chimp interact with humans all the time. Well, Mike, how are we feeling about our boy J. Fred?
I like J. Fred. I mean, I think it's funny because it feels like in that there's sort of a television tradition. I mean, we've been talking about how apes have helped shape the world in our personal lives in various ways, but just bringing a monkey onto or a chimp onto a TV show is kind of a genre of TV episode. Like Bewitched had like a monkey episode, and like more recently like Friends and Malcolm in the Middle, they just have episodes where someone gets a monkey or a chimp. Usually it's like a helper monkey, but it is just kind of a thing when someone runs out of ideas, because I feel like in all those instances the writers' rooms are like, fuck, we got 22 episodes to fill, just give them a monkey in an episode. And that was just kind of the attitude with the Today Show, where they were just like, I don't know, just put a monkey in there, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of the whole like put a million monkeys into a room with a typewriter for some. I forget what the specific adage is.
Infinite monkeys in a room with infinite time will produce Hamlet.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of that, where it's like put one monkey into a room and just see what happens.
Let's just see what happens. Like, if this is the 1950s, we don't have as strong like standards and practices. Like, if the monkey just kind of rips off someone's face, I mean, this is Hollywood in the 50s. We'll just see what happens.
We'll just say that they went off to a farm.
It is crazy. I was just writing about, like, fake movie facts that everyone believes. And one is, like, in the 1950s version of Ben-Hur, like, a stunt performer died. But that's what people say, but, like, no one actually died. But there was, they made a Ben-Hur movie in the 1920s where a stunt performer did die. And that's where, like, kind of the wires got crossed. Like, people associate that with the 1950s Ben-Hur. But it was that one. A stunt performer died, and like they put 100 horses down because of the chariot races, and the horses just got injured, and they just shot them. And it's like, Jesus Christ! Like, and you look at that time period, like, I think it's like between 1925 and 1930, like 55 stunt performers died, like in Hollywood. Like now, if a stunt performer, it still happens, like obviously, and it's tragic, but it's like big news. But in the 20s, 30s, like stunt performers died, and they were just like, well, who wants lunch? Like it was just, they just moved on. And I feel like that attitude was still here in the 50s. It's like, well, let's just see what Fred does.
If this monkey tears somebody's fucking head off, we'll just get fucking Fred Fleming or whatever back. We'll give him a raise.
Give you you have a monkey, what the fuck's it called, like a hazard pay, monkey hazard pay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of want some monkey hazard pay, like just at any job you're working at, just be like, can you just like put a monkey in here and then just give me more money? I'll risk it.
Because most of the time, you figure the monkey's just gonna be walking around, just doing his thing. Like, as long as there aren't any like loud noises, which I guess it depends where your office is, but he should be fine. I'll roll those dice.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, my job, I like my job. It's pretty cool. It's kind of weird. I just sit in this room and I work on my computer, and there's just a monkey in there. And the monkey pretty much keeps to minds his own business. He doesn't really bother me at all. But like, if anything on my screen flashes too bright, then he gets a little agitated, and you know, it's some people I've heard stories that apparently some of my predecessors didn't make it out. So but they give me an extra $3,000 a month, so overall worth it.
I didn't know you were talking about that kind of pay. Like, you could put like a couple monkeys in that office.
Yeah,
I deal with that.
Throw like 4 monkeys in here and give and double my salary.
Yeah. For no advantage to the company other than it's like we're one of those like quirky companies, you know, we have a foosball table in the office. You can just play whenever you want. And, also we got a couple chimps.
A roving band of wild monkeys that just kind of wreak havoc.
We put them in leather jackets though, so it's kind of adorable.
That's a funny sketch idea. Like a modern startup where they're just like, yeah, we're not like real one of those like stuffy corporations. Like, we got a foosball table, we got snacks in the kitchen, we've got a tribe of wild monkeys that just terrorize the office. What was the last one?
If we're going like tech startup, like the monkeys, they would give the monkeys like really sharp pencils or something, and if you stop working, they like poke you in the back.
Oh yeah. It's
like a motivational tour. Like there'd be some like finance bro TikToker who's like, listen, man, I only sleep 3 hours a night. Other than that, I'm constantly working, constantly grinding, and you know how I do it? I have a little pet chimp who has a really sharp pencil, and he pokes me if I even look away from my computer for a second.
I 10x'd my revenue by introducing watcher monkeys into my business. Well, speaking of monkey business, do you have anything you want to plug today, Mr. Bedard?
That's the best segue you've had on the show yet, because I get involved in all kinds of monkey business on my TikTok at Cinema Singularity, where I post movie reviews, interviews with actors and directors, and just kind of my general thoughts on pop culture. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Bedard. And if you're in the LA area and want to see some cool sketch comedy, my team Crop Top performs at the Pack Theater the second Wednesday of every month.
And you can follow us, Deep Cuts, on social media by going to Facebook and searching Deep Cuts Podcast. You can join our Facebook group, the Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group, where we talk about the show. We make memes. We have a cool little community of people there. You can join our Discord server, bit.ly.com/deepcutsdiscord, where we also talk about the show, make memes, play games, and have another cool little community that hangs out and talks. You can follow us on Instagram at Deep Cuts Pod. You can follow us on TikTok at Mystery Treehouse. You can follow us on YouTube, Deep Cuts Podcast. And you can follow me on TikTok at Treehouse Detective, where I make fun little fact videos about pop culture, mostly just get yelled at by 23-year-olds. And you can also check out some of my more in-depth reading on my Substack, which is substack.treehousedetective.com. Now, back to the show. Act 2, Monkey See, Monkey Do Mayhem. Muggs was a full-fledged celebrity. He had his own books, and even a board game came out featuring his likeness. We got this J. Fred Muggs Round the World game. And it's a board game. It's got like a little illustration of two children with the board game out playing it. There's like an atlas in the background, and then a plane flying by, and then we got a photo of Mr. Muggs himself with like a camera strapped to his shoulder.
Out of context, this board game looks insane.
Yeah, it's like if you didn't know that if you didn't have the specific knowledge that in the 1950s there was a chimpanzee who was on the Today Show and got super famous globally, this would look like pure chaos to you.
It's Muggs, two children playing a board game and a plane, which I think this, if you scroll down, I think this plane was like made in collaboration with, Pan American Airways. Pan American Airways put out this board game with J. Fred Muggs.
What a collab. J. Fred Muggs x Pan Am. But as is so often the case of taking an animal out of its natural habitat and putting it somewhere with a lot of bright lights and strange sounds, they can sometimes act erratically. J. Fred Muggs was no exception. He didn't always act the way his trainers wanted him to. That was the case for a 1955 episode of the game show Make the Connection, where a panel of judges has to figure out how two people are connected. For one installment, they brought out Muggs as well as Muggs' babysitter, and things quickly grew to be unmanageable. We're gonna watch this segment.
Okay, that takes care of that. Panel, are you ready to go with the second connection here? May we have our next guest, please? Would you give us your name, please, and tell us where you're from?
Yes, Joanne Cottingham. I'm living in New York now, but originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Joanne Cottingham, originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Now, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you the second half of this connection. One of the most distinguished television entertainers in all of America, and a charming personality, too, one I'm sure you're going to be pleased to meet. We're very proud to present to you the second half of this connection. Would you come in, please?
Everyone's like, J. Fred! J. Fred!
It's Muggs!
J. Fred!
Hold it. Hey, easy.
I hope that's not one of my children.
Hey, would you like a glass of...
I think the more surprising thing actually going into this episode, which I did not expect, is less just the fact that there was a chimpanzee on the Today Show as one of the hosts. And it's more how famous this monkey was, or this chimpanzee was. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, he was on this show and it was like a novelty. Like, he was like world famous.
People loved J. Fred Muggs.
That's the most surprising part to me.
He had board games, he had books, like any TV show, because this is a different show. This is a game show, not the Today Show, but people were just like, it's J. Fred. Like, it would be the equivalent of like when Brad Pitt was like a guest star on Friends. Like, it's fucking Brad Pitt in the 90s and we still love him. And it's just like, fucking Muggs.
Fucking Muggs. Muggs.
Water. Calm yourself. Tune in next Thursday, friends.
Yeah, he's just so basically what's happening in this video is they try to bring him out on this game show, but he's just not cooperating at all. The handler's trying to get him to sit down, he just won't do it, and so he just gives up and lets him go. Which first of all, like, just would never happen in a modern context. Like, he's just like the handler's just like, fuck it, he lets him go, which that would never happen.
No.
But he just starts running through the audience, like he just starts running through the studio.
That's asking for a lawsuit.
Yeah.
I mean, you hope he doesn't get into face ripping mode.
Yeah. Don't go face ripping. Don't go ripping face mugs. Please stick to the cute little antics you're used to.
We'll continue here. I'll drink the water. What the heck?
So now they've just got a rogue chimp running through the studios. They're trying to do this game show.
What happened to the leash?
They just didn't have it.
It's like, he's fine now.
There you are. You take the water.
way with howdy doody.
That's it. That's great.
Oh wow, the woman soothed him like
I'll give you this link to start you
like
off
whatever
on.
her name is in King Kong.
Who is the handler, and
He's drinking out of the host mug, and everyone loves it.
That's why he's called Mugs.
here's the link to start you off on. This is something.
Mr. Muggs, I'd like to address this question to you, sir.
All right, are you listening, Muggs?
I say, Mr. Muggs. Sir, this would it help me to know what you do, sir?
Yes, it would help you.
Question.
What if he was like, my dear man, I am a host of a prestigious news show.
Just becomes one of those fancy monkeys on SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah.
Who are like in charge of Sandy's Dome.
Yeah, I mean, the main theme of this is that this is pure chaos. It's also just kind of hilarious to watch all these adults just like trying to like exist with this fucking chimpanzee running around. Like they're all just like they're all kind of just trying to do their jobs, and there's just a monkey running around, and it's just funny to watch them try to just keep their composure, and you can just tell in their minds they're just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like why what this is my life.
We thought it'd be a fun little gag to have J. Fred Muggs on this game show, and now it's just this.
A book detailing the history of the Today Show spoke about one nasty incident with Muggs.
Muggs charmed guests who appeared on Today up to a point. Frank Blair once recalled an incident with actress Kim Novak. At one time, Kim Novak had him on her lap because she thought it would be cute, he said. And he reached down and she squealed and she left the set. He was the pre-Matt Lauer.
Yeah.
Canceled.
Arguably the most infamous incident with Muggs concerned him biting comedian Martha Raye on the arm. Some have claimed this to be a tabloid rumor, but a report did come from NBC at the time stating the following.
An NBC spokesman said yesterday the network plans no punitive action against J. Fred Muggs, popular TV chimp star, which bit comedian Martha Raye and her understudy Vicky Carlson Saturday night.
And for too long, these male celebrities just got no accountability for their actions.
A systemic issue for decades. I mean, he's only biting women celebrities.
J. Fred Muggs would have been Me Too'd in a heartbeat in 2017.
We're gonna get your ass, J. Fred Muggs. This is our variety expose on J. Fred Muggs.
Hashtag time is up, J. Fred Muggs. Garroway would also claim that Muggs bit him several dozen times, requiring him to frequently go to the hospital for tetanus shots. The Martha Raye incident has largely been attributed to J. Fred Muggs getting kicked off the Today Show, although in a press release NBC put forth afterward, the reasoning behind Muggs' departure was so that he could extend his personal horizons. Whatever that means. For a chimp, you wrote monkey.
Monkey's a funnier word.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing.
It's just like it doesn't have that's the punchline. And ape doesn't quite hit, but monkey hits.
Yeah, that's why people. I think that's a bigger reason why people constantly call chimps monkeys, is because it's just a funnier word and it's just more satisfying to say.
Like apes, I think like gorillas and like orangutans. Chimps are like kind of like they're apes, but they're kind of between a monkey and an ape.
Yeah, they're spiritually monkey.
They're spiritually. They have the spirit of a monkey.
If anything, you think like when you think of a monkey, you think more of a chimpanzee. And monkeys actually they're just a whole different thing. They're just like little tiny guys. And they're less like they have like less human like personality traits. Like chimpanzees, they kind of seem like little guys, and it's like funny. It's like, oh, it's like a little hairy dude, and they can like they drink from glasses and they smile and stuff like that. Monkeys can't do any of that stuff.
Yeah,
they're just kind of little animals.
A chimp you can put in suspenders and give him little shoes. You can't do that to a gorilla. No. You don't want to do that to a gorilla, and that's an ape.
I mean, you and 100 other men could do it to a gorilla.
See, I don't think we could. I feel like the gorilla would just kind of mind its business. I don't think you need to fight a gorilla. Like most of the time they're chill. They would show like videos. Like it's one of those things where it's like if a gorilla goes like batshit insane, like yeah, watch out. But like most of the time they're just like hanging out in little like hot springs. They're just doing their thing.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, I think that is absolutely what happened. You know, referring to this, the thing we're referring to is this weird like debate that exploded on the internet for a while, where everybody was debating over who would win in a fight between 100 men and one gorilla. The real answer, I think, is that if 100 men like attacked a gorilla, the gorilla would just run away.
Yeah.
It would just be like, what the fuck?
Get out of here.
Yeah.
And it speaks to, you know, the savagery of man, that like our first thought is could 100 men kill a gorilla, beat up a gorilla?
Yeah.
As opposed to,
and the gorilla is like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just getting out of here. I don't want any trouble.
But no one has ever considered like, could 100 men get a gorilla to cooperate so they could put a silly little shirt on him?
Yeah. That's the
more delightful thought experiment.
That's the more pressing question.
Yeah.
We haven't seen enough. We've seen a ton of chimps with like funny little clothes. We've never seen any gorillas because it would be too hard, and also they don't make clothes that big.
Yeah, you need, I don't know, like 10x large shirt. I don't know, like gorillas get pretty big.
Yeah, somebody get on that. Somebody get on making gorilla-sized clothes. Muggs' contract was up, and NBC didn't want to renew. He was booted from the Today Show in 1957 and replaced with a younger, more well-behaved ape. So they just got a different. It wasn't like, oh, this has become a liability. We're gonna get the animals off the show because they're dangerous. They're just like, no, we're just getting a younger, hotter chimpanzee.
Tale as old as time in Hollywood. Getting the younger, more attractive chimps.
That scene from what's the show? What's the movie called?
The Substance, where
that too. Yes,
because that's what I was thinking. Like the Substance. J. Fred Muggs, and then he just like kind of cracked open, and then like a younger chimp came out, and they had to switch bodies every 7 days.
Yeah, that too. But what I was thinking of was the Saturday Night Live movie. I forget what it was called.
Saturday Night?
Was it just called Saturday Night Live? Yeah. The scene with J.K. Simmons playing Milton Berle, where he's like kind of doing like a tit for tat with Bill Murray, and he just whips out his dick. It's that, but with J. Fred Muggs. Yeah. He's like, you know, they're always gonna remember me as Uncle Muggsy.
Whips out his ape dick.
Yeah. J. Fred Muggs basically got substance with Kokomo Jr.
I didn't read ahead. I just like independently thought of that.
Yeah. This is proof that there's no free will. You just had the same thought in two completely isolated situations. Also, his name is the chimp's name is Kokomo Jr. That's a delightful name. I got to admit.
I mean, J. Fred Muggs had the least memorable name, but I mean, he was the one who started it all.
Kokomo Jr., the new mascot for today, with his impressive ability to say the word "mama" on command. He could say "mama." I want to hear that. How's that possible?
Mama. Is there a clip with that? I don't think I could find a clip of that because these episodes are all old as fuck.
Pixar, it didn't happen. We don't know much about what Garraway thought of his new co-host, but in one 1957 segment, he appears far more at ease around Kokomo than Muggs. He's like, listen, I didn't actually have a problem with sharing a screen with a chimpanzee. It was just J. Fred Muggs was a dick.
J. Fred Muggs was the Jared Leto of Today Show co-host in the 1950s, where he's just kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. He's just always like, I don't know, leaving feces in trailers, which, I mean, I wouldn't even put that past Jared Leto to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. J. Fred Muggs was the Jared Leto of the 50s, for sure.
Oh, toy. It's You brought me a bell? I don't know. He's so whimsical these days. He's here and he's not here. He's there and he's not there. He brings a bell or he doesn't bring a bell. What's the immaculate significance of this bell? You won't talk, huh? I'll talk to you then. This is still National Children's Book Week, you know. And you're looking at one of the books I was going to read the poems from. You like poetry? Well, I'm glad you do. Poetry is the great hope of man. Let me read you a couple of poems here. This is A Little Laughter, it's called, by Catherine Love. Compiled by Catherine Love. The poems are by...
Yeah, honestly, Kokomo Jr. is just way more chill than J. Fred Muggs. Like, they just got a bad chimp. Like, he's just hanging out. He's like holding his hand. He seems much more at ease with him. It's way more peaceful. He's not going around just like destroying shit.
How much do you think how much of that do you think is they got a bad chimp versus, because they got Muggs in 1953, fired him in 1957, so he was on the Today Show for like 4 years.
Yeah,
during that time, how much do you think he kind of went insane, just like, I imagine he was like just throwing off whatever like internal chimp rhythm he had. He's just surrounded by these artificial sets. There's bright lights. He's being told to like being maneuvered room to room. And at a certain point, like does his ape brain break and it's just like, I can't do this anymore. And then he just starts like running around the sets versus Kokomo just being like, yeah, I'm a little monkey.
Yeah, how J. Fred Muggs got his groove back. Yeah, he lost his mind. It probably was it. Because I mean, I think that's like what happens a lot. It's like people get pet chimps or whatever, and it's like fine for a while, and then there's like a breaking point, and then something bad happens. That's how it happens with all these stories. If Muggs was wild and crazy, Kokomo was far more relaxed. Kokomo would be part of various skits on Today for 2 more years before also getting the boot. But by this point, the Today Show didn't need a chimp gimmick. It was a cultural behemoth, an institution that's remained on the air for decades. Today has hosted presidents, actors, authors. It's helped launch numerous media careers and gave people a reason to watch TV in the morning, with numerous imitators following. But none of this would have existed without J. Fred Muggs monkeying around for those first few years, or aping around if you're being more scientifically accurate.
There's no pun for that.
But what became of Muggs after his stint in the limelight? He didn't go softly into that good night. For starters, Muggs' handlers sued Garraway for besmirching Muggs' good name, although it's unclear how the lawsuit exactly played out. But I'm hoping that it was in a courtroom with J. Fred Muggs representing himself as his own lawyer.
See, I was hoping it was in a courtroom and you have like the plaintiff and the defendant, but the entire jury are also apes. And Garraway's just like, oh, come on. I'm clearly at a disadvantage here. They rigged the jury.
The judge and the jury are all chimpanzees.
The judge is like an orangutan with one of those like British like white wigs, and he has like a little gavel, and he's just constantly.
Garraway is like, come on, this is a kangaroo court. And they're like, nope, it's a chimpanzee court. And the audience laughs. You're going to prison.
If only we were in the 1970s, we could pitch a show called Chimp Court.
Yeah, we were born too late. At the height of his fame, Muggs brought in $1,275 a week on Today, not including any of the royalties he made from the many books and toys bearing his likeness. Following Today, he even got his own short-lived TV show, The J. Fred Muggs Show, which sadly we've been unable to find any footage of. In 1958, one of Muggs' finger paintings graced the cover of Mad Magazine. Yeah, we got this copy of Mad Magazine, and it's just got, a bunch of paint smudges on the cover, and then cover artist, and it's a picture of J. Fred Muggs. That's odd. That's an odd thing.
He went the George W. Bush
way.
Post the main fame where he just becomes
a
painter. I'm a little painter. Don't just forget about my war crimes.
Yeah, and everybody's like, no, don't let J. Fred Muggs be rejuvenated in the court of public opinion. Remember his awful crimes. And Muggs had a stint performing at Busch Gardens in Florida in the 1970s, and he continued making appearances at state fairs and military bases until his formal retirement from public life in 1992. Manella, Waldron, and Jerry Price, the last of which joined the Muggs team in 1961, were incredibly protective of the chimp after he faded from the limelight, leading many to assume he had died. During the 40th anniversary episode of The Today Show, there were even jokes that Muggs had been fertilizing daffodils for years.
What a fucked up thing to say.
They're like, yeah, that fucking monkey's dead. Jesus. And the team never obtained any royalties from archival footage NBC would sometimes use of Muggs. Manella passed away in 2005, and according to Price, condolences soon started pouring in for the man who helped introduce the world to Muggs. Price said that they had gotten
hundreds of phone calls. I just spoke with Liza Minnelli. I've had calls from Paris, France, England, Italy. It amazes me how many people responded.
It amazes me too. It's like I can't believe how famous this monkey was. And if I went and asked my mom, would she know who J. Fred Muggs is? Because she was a kid in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Would she be like, oh yeah, J. Fred Muggs? He was he used to be like a thing.
Probably. It's funny how beloved he was all over the world. All these condolences come in, but the people on the Today Show are just embarrassed by him.
Well, they have generational trauma because of J. Fred Muggs.
Just we gotta live with knowing this show only exists because of an ape.
Yeah. As far as we know, J. Fred Muggs is still alive, kicking it in Tampa, Florida with his longtime girlfriend Phoebe. As far as the latest updates from 2023. Seriously? He's alive?
I haven't heard. I couldn't find anything. I really looked into this.
J. Fred Muggs is fucking alive?
Chimps can live a long time, and I'm assuming he's well taken care of. So, I mean, he he could be dead. I don't know, but there's no indication. I feel like that would be a news story if J. Fred Muggs died.
How long did chimps live? I mean, I know it is long, but I mean, this is 40 years, but like,
is that average? Or
I don't know.
what about captivity?
In captivity, they can live to like 60 years. So, I mean, it's been...
So 63's when he was first on. So he'd be like in his 60s. So he could still
maybe
be
he's just an old ass monkey.
just an old ass chimp, yeah.
It's not hyperbole to say that J. Fred Muggs changed television, but he's largely been relegated to a footnote as a fascinating piece of trivia in shows like 30 Rock and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I don't even remember this reference. I'm gonna watch this clip of 30 Rock real quick.
Yeah! Now, you may have heard of J. Fred Muggs, the chimpanzee that was on the Today Show in the 50s. But what most people don't know is that NBC is still a network.
I'm assuming when I saw that, I assumed it was a joke, like not like a fake thing, because I don't remember that at all. I've watched 30 Rock probably like 3 times through, and I don't remember that scene at all.
Yeah, there's that. It's one of those like TV trivia, because I think they've also mentioned like Miss Maisel, Bob's Burgers. Like anytime there's like a talk show thing, like I feel like TV writers just want to be like, gotta tell the people that like Chimp used to host the Today Show.
Yeah, which is honestly like in retrospect, that episode of Frasier was just 100% referencing this.
Yeah.
Like when I first said it, I was like, oh, it's kind of similar to that. But like, no, that was this guy was so famous.
Yeah.
That was definitely a direct reference.
Yeah, and if you work in TV, you would probably be aware of the history and just know that was a thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what are your closing thoughts on our dear sweet baby boy J. Fred Muggs?
I think it's an interesting piece of television. You know, one of those things that gets referenced on TV shows today, and people might just be like, yeah, they were just like exaggerating, or it's hyperbole, they're just making a joke. But then you look into it and it's like, no, like not only did the Today Show have a chimpanzee co-host, but also people fucking loved him. Like it's one of those things. You know, you listen to like the pop songs that were like at the top of the charts in the 1960s, and it's like, what is this shit? Like we all remember like the good stuff, but like at the time it's like, oh yeah, people were just listening to whatever generic thing was on the radio and loved this chimp.
Yeah, it was a different time whenever a chimp could capture the hearts of America in a way that, you know, certain animals obviously have become famous, especially in the age of social media, you know, like the grumpy cat and
Moodang.
Yeah, like animals do still become famous, if anything more so than ever before, but like famous in a different way. Like J. Fred Muggs was like, he was like as famous as like a guy.
Yeah, well, as very famous as Marilyn Monroe, apparently.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, like it's kind of looped back around. We want to see like animals naturally. Like this is like taking an animal and taking it out of its natural habitat and be like, we're going to put you on a TV set for like 10 hours a day. Versus now where it's like, oh, people love Moodang because Moodang is just like in a zoo and she like just bites the animal trainers and we think that's adorable. Or Grumpy Cat is just like someone's cat, but it just has this perpetual like grumpy face. So we want to see like a natural animal. Like I feel like if someone tried to pull that today, like they'd call like J. Fred Muggs an industry plant or something, where it's like we don't want J. Fred Muggs. He's trying too hard with the little shoes.
I thought you were going to say that there would be like an animal rights, like,
I mean that too, yeah,
because that would definitely happen if they tried to have like a chimpanzee host. Like it would not go over well.
Yeah. Well, that probably is also why we need social media for like our animal celebrities. Is like that's like the only way you can like kind of ethically, I mean as ethically as you want to consider like a zoo, but like I don't know, better than like making an animal work.
Yeah. I mean it's quite strange that chimpanzee was like a co-host of the Today Show for years. I can't believe that that's a real thing that actually happened. And not only that, but like I've known about the story for a long time, and it's just one of those ideas that has been kicking around that we eventually decided to do an episode about. But again, you know, without really deep knowledge of it and just kind of knowing about the surface level story of it, I just assumed that it was like a thing where like they did it for 6 months and it went really well and it like saved the show from cancellation, and then they just kind of moved on from it. But like not only, I mean, the chimpanzee was on the show for years, and not only that, but he was like a world famous celebrity. And that's crazy to me. I literally can't believe that. I mean, it's not that I can't believe that could happen, but I can't believe that happened and I've just never really heard about it, other than obviously these little references in shows or whatever that I just didn't notice. But like, it's just crazy that whole saga can happen and then like just disappear into history and not be like common knowledge to your average person.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the Today Show doesn't want it to be common knowledge. They just want to kind of sweep it under the rug. They have their anniversary specials, but don't mention Muggs or barely mention Muggs. And it's like, you, like Katie Couric, Al Roker, He Who Must Not Be Named, like all owe their careers to
A
J. Fred
chimpanzee.
Muggs. Yeah. It's like, you wouldn't be here without, if someone just didn't have the idea of being like, let's put a chimp on the show.
Yeah, which honestly, I would wear like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
I would be like, yeah, a fucking chimpanzee is the progenitor of my entire career.
Listen, J. Fred Muggs might still be alive. Haven't heard otherwise. When J. Fred Muggs dies, the Today Show better show him some goddamn respect.
They better have
Like,
a fucking funeral for him.
like when the Queen died, and you spend like an hour covering her life. Like the Today Show better have like the J. Fred
full
Muggs
4-hour block,
obituary ready to go, just ready to talk about this chimp.
or we'll fucking riot in the streets.
Yeah, yeah.
No kings protest, no fucking chimps not respected protest.
Listen, we're gonna make you regret the fact that you do that thing where like there are the big windows and the crowds outside, because we're gonna be out there if you don't respect Muggs.
If they had done that military parade on J. Fred Muggs' birthday, the entire country would have gone. J. Fred Muggs for president. He's younger than Trump.
He's the perfect. What is that? An 80-year-old ape? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Better than Trump.
J. Fred Muggs for office, motherfuckers.
You know what? They both wear diapers. So.
And on that note, I'm Andrew Price.
And I'm Mike Bedard.
If you want to check out the show, thanks for listening. I don't know. I don't know how to fucking end these things. I don't usually do this. Thanks for listening. If you want to check out the show, you can follow us on social media at Deep Cuts Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow us on TikTok at Mystery Treehouse. You can join our Discord group, bit.ly.com/deepcutsdiscord. You can check out our shop by going to deepcutspod.com, clicking on the shop. We got hats and shirts and fanny packs and coffee mugs with cool Deep Cuts graphics on them. You can follow me on TikTok at Treehouse Detective, and you can read my Substack, substack.treehousedetective.com.
And you can follow me on TikTok at Cinema Singularity.
Deep Cuts is a production by Boy Genius Media. If you'd like to find this show and others like it, please visit boygeniusmedia.com or deepcutspod.com.
If you want to join in on post-episode discussions, please join the Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group. Finally, subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional video content.
The incidental music for this episode was created by D. Catalano, whose music can be found at wekeepoddhours.bandcamp.com. This episode of Deep Cuts was written by Mike Bedard. If you'd be interested in writing for Deep Cuts, email andrew@boygeniusmedia.com.